Hello, dear friends. You are most welcome in English literature and grammar class. Dear students, today we are going to enjoy the one of the famous sonnets written by William Shakespeare. Went to the sessions of sweet silent thought. Went to the session of sweet silent thought is written in sonnet form and it is known as the 30th sonnet poem. Shakespeare is famous for his dramas and poetry. Shakespeare wrote many tragic and comedic dramas, and he also wrote about 154 sonnets, which were published about in 1609. The present sonnet is also one of them. This sonnet is written in Shakespearean sonnet forms. As you know, sonnet is a kind of short poem which, which consisted of 14 lines. And so far as we talk about the types of sonnets, Petrarchan sonnets, Shakespearean sonnets, which also known as English sonnets and Spenserian sonnets. We are reading Shakespearean sonnet Went to the session of sweet silent, and this sonnet is divided into three basic stanzas, each stanza of 4 lines and a flowing rhyming couplet. The rhyming scheme is AB, AB, CD, CD, EF, EF, and GG. Each line is composed in iambic pentameter, and he also used compound phrases, compound words in this poem. Poet, if you talk about the theme of the poem, the remembrance of past things brings sorrows, but remember the memory of past best friend brings inspiration, enthusiasm to us, and swept up and sweeps up all the sorrows and destroys all the sorrows which we got which we get from the remembering of the past things. So let's start this stanza. Went to the sessions of sweet silent thought, I summon up remembrance of things past. I sighed the lake of many a thing I sought, and with awe whose knew well my dear time's best. Went to the sessions of sweet silent thought. Whenever Shakespeare finds himself in pensive mood, sweet silent thought, then the sweet silent thoughts come into his mind, and then I summon up remembrance of things past, and then I means poet he summon up, he starts to recall the remembrance memories of past things, past things foregoing, foregone things, yeah, things which are not at present, but their memories are still in the mind of poet. So, poet want to say that whenever he finds himself in pensive mood, then should silent thoughts about the past things comes into his mind, and then he starts to recall all the memories of those past things which I sigh the lack of many a thing I sought. I sigh, I regret. He feels sorrow, the lack of many a things. Then poet, he feels sorrow about those things, about those many things which are not, which were not achieved by poet in his past life. Although he has tried, he tried his best to get them, but which he couldn't get them for his failure. So he feels sorrow for his failure not to get those things. Although he made his best efforts to search for them, but he couldn't get nothing. He could get nothing. So, and with old woes, new well, my dear times waste, and with old woes, and all these, and the memories of about past things which were not, which could not be got by the poet, and he was failure to get them. These things brings sorrows, and these old sorrows, sufferings, new well, he starts to weep, expresses his deep sorrows, but it is not nothing besides the waste of time. So poet wants to say in this stanza, whenever he finds himself in pensive mood, then should silent thoughts about the past things come into his mind, and then he starts to recall the memories about those things and his failures which were not, which could not get, which could not be got by him in his past life, and the old sorrows again generates into his mind and heart, and he again starts to weep and feels sorrow, expresses sorrow about those things. But he says, on weeping them and on expressing them is useless. It is not nothing than the waste of time. Okay, this the these four lines we can say the best use of alliteration, anupras alankar, session of sweet silent thought. Sessions of sweet silent thought here is the letter of repetitions of letter S. Sessions of sweet silent. So it is the best example of alliteration. And it is the best, and the poet's imagination is highly remarkable in these lines. Rhyming scheme is AB, AB, and the imbing pentameter and the compound words were also used. Session of sweet silent, summon up, and old views and times waste. Okay, now we come to second stanza of this poem. Then can I drown an eye unused to flow for precious friends hid in death's deathless night, and we papyrus loves long since cancelled woo, and mourn the expense of many a vanished sight. Then can I drown an eye, poet says, then can I drown an eye, then I drown an eye means cry, then he cries unused to flow, unused, unaccustomed, unaccustomed, inhabitual to flow, to cry, for crying. Poet doesn't know crying, but when he thinks about the past things and he suffers a lot of, then he says he makes a cry, although he is an accustomed and inhabitual to do this. For precious friends hid in deaths and deathless night, and precious friends, friends, his best loving friends who lied, who now lie buried in death's deathless night. Deathless means eternal night of death. Poet says, poet want to say that most of his precious friends, best friends, are not more, and they have been buried in the eternal night of death. And we praise love's long since cancelled who, and we praise means again, and he weep, weeps again, love's long cancelled who, long since cancelled who, forgotten pains, sufferings, and the forgotten sufferings when he again recalls and weep about the forgotten, to remember the forgotten pains and mourn the expense of many a vanished sight, and he again mourn, he again mourns, mourn means karana, rona, vilap karna, he again mourns the expenses of many a vanished sight. Many, a number of best companies, a many of lovely companies and happy days, and which were now faded, which were which have been which have faded now. When he thoughts about the best friend and their best company, and he starts to mourn about them, and so he feels sorrows. In this stranger poet wants to say that when he thinks about his best friend who have buried, who have been buried in their graves, and they have hidden in the eternal night of death, when he recalls the company and enjoy and happy days which he spent with them, he mourns again about these days which are no more, and which such enjoy and happy days will never come in his life again. So here we also says that the rhyming scheme is night and sight, flow and o, c, bc, no, cd and cd. And if you talk about the alliterations, death and deathless, hid in the death stateless, dd repeated here, and vanished side, long since cancelled, forgotten laws, and dash datelessness, which are remarkable compound words and phrases which were generally used by the Shakespeare in his poetry. The each line is composed in iambic pentameter, and the language is, if we talk about the language and diction of the poem, it is simple and understandable. That's all for today, dear students. Now, bye. Thank you.